Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this Tuesday. Yes, I missed Monday because I had a heart attack, but I survived, and I guess there's a lot of people out there that would say, God, I wish he just passed away. But, folks, I didn't. Back from the dead, and that's what the topic of this show is about. When are you close to death? What I mean, I don't mean having a heart attack. I mean, how many years do you think you have to live? Now, I guess if you were born and you're 5 years old, you're not going to think about it. But then what about the baby that's in the back seat of a car that gets in a motorcycle accident and the motorcycle hits the car, the baby's dead. The baby never knew, right? So you never know when you're going to die, but let's say you've lived 30, 40 years, you've gotten out of tragedy, you didn't die as a youth, you weren't involved in some crazy war in Iraq or Iran, you weren't blown up by some American bomb somewhere, and you're just living a normal life, and you say, well, how many years do I have left? And you kind of go, well, I think if I'm 35, I have at least 50 years to live. And then you turn 45, and you go, well, I got 40. Then you turn 55, and you got, how many? 20. Then you turn 65, you got 10, and pretty soon you're down to the last days. And what do you start thinking about? Do you start thinking about death, or do you just think about life? The topic of this show is, what are you going to do when the sun don't shine anymore? And are you prepared for it? Well, I don't think anybody's ever prepared for death. I've met people that, they hit 60 or something and they start writing their will. And they start writing out, okay, I want to be cremated. I don't want to be put in the ground. I've always said, what the hell's the difference? I ain't going to be here anyway. And someone asked me the other day, what do you want to be? Where do you want to go when you die? And I said, I don't really care. And they were confounded because they said, you're not dealing with death. And I said, I guess you're right. So I've decided to live every day like tomorrow's my last day. Now, you've heard that before, of course. By the way, as Greg Anthony on the Investigative Journal, we usually discuss really serious topics here, like how did the Jesuits ever get to hell in the United States? And how the hell can Americans not understand them? And we go through this. I mean, I've been on the air talking about this for God knows, it seems like forever. And we don't get anywhere, right? So, let me tell you what I decided to do tonight. I decided to think that all of us have one day to live. Right. Isn't it normal? You don't know if you're going to get hit by a bus tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to die in bed tomorrow. And, it does happen. I was just listening to the news today, and there was a story in upstate New York that really troubled me, but I started thinking about it. You don't know. And we all know that, but we all put it out of our mind, don't we? But I guess this stretch limousine was driving in upstate New York. I don't know the particulars of the case, but it went through a parking lot, killed 2 pedestrians, and then hit something, and all 18 people in the stretch limousine were killed. 20 people. Wow, woke up that day thinking if they were 35, they got 70 years to live, 45, 60, and on and on. Even if they were 60, they got 15, 20. They didn't know. It was over. I don't think you can prepare for death no matter how good you are at life. But here's what I want to tell you. Today, we're going to do something different on this show. Now, I believe that if you've listened to my show for years, you know the Vatican-led New World Order is my key concern, because everyone is talking about what's behind the scenes of all this kind of political stuff. What's behind the scenes of all this ecumenical stuff. And we get so upset, but it's really a simple answer. But people do not want to deal with the inevitable truth that you are just a slave in this country, no matter what you do. No matter if you make $1 million or you make $5 an hour, they got you by the cojones. And you say, well, why? Because you have not figured out how to get out of it. And even if you figure out how to get out of it, you're not going to get out of it. Because I've figured out how to get out of it, and I can't get out of it. So they got you by the double cojones. And so what I want to recommend is for all of us to take a deep breath tonight. I remember I've been doing radio shows for God knows my whole life. I can't do anything else but talk. I wish I could. You know? I was thinking the other day, what happens if I lose my voice? What the hell am I going to do? You know, there's a guy where I live. I'd probably be like this guy. He has no legs. He's in a wheelchair every day. And he goes out and collects money in between the lines of cars. Okay? I've seen him for months and months, and no one bothers him, and he doesn't have an income. So I guess if I lost my voice, I'd be out there going, okay, put some money in here. I have no way to make a living. But I digress. What I want to mention is, okay, the last day, we have to live. Now, I remember doing radio, and someone said, you know, we have a problem with drinking and driving. And we've got to tell people how to stop. And so they would give me a PSA announcement on the radio, and I'd read all this stuff like, do you know that 37,000 people were killed this year? And, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then they, you know, then they play music and all this kind of sad stuff. And on the radio, you know, they can't really show really gruesome pictures like they do on TV. But I said, well, give me a chance to do one thing. And they said, what? I said, let me get drunk on the air. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, people are listening. This was an AM station I was working for. And they said, well, what do you mean? I think if I present it right, I'll show people why you don't want to drink. And I would do this show, and I would start out sober, and I would tell people every so often I'm taking a shot of whatever. And I was doing an hour show. And by the end of the hour, I couldn't talk. And I made a complete fool of myself. But it was a staged fooling. But I'll tell you what, I got so much response on that, they asked me, why don't you do that again every year or something? And it really helped. And I got a number of people that called me and said, you know what? I never heard anybody change so much in that hour. And so I thought about it, and I said, wow. You know, sometimes you got to do things the way you feel. Now, another person said, well, what have you been doing lately? And I said, well, doing this radio show, talking to people. Oh, and by the way, tomorrow I want to have John Levy on, attorney friend of mine, who we've done many shows together about about the Vatican. Tomorrow we'll get serious. But they said, well, what haven't you ever done on a radio show? And I said, I don't really think I have, you know. not done anything. I'm sure there's things I haven't done, but I said, well, what I always wanted to do was to hold my guitar in my hand and do my radio show. So I brought it here. I'm not going to play or sing to you. And I want to see if holding this guitar that I played for years changes the way I speak. And knowing that we have one day to live, that's what we decided on this show. What are you doing there outside of listening to me for a little while? Then what are you going to do? So I'm playing, I'm sitting here with this guitar thinking, after I get off this radio show, I'm going to play, a song by Willie Nelson. Well, hello there. It's been a long, long time. Terrible rendition, but get the point. So after the show, I'm going to do that because I don't have a day to live after that. But I said, well, what am I going to do? I'll put the guitar down here. What am I going to do during this show, since it's my last show? I'm going to die tomorrow. You're going to die tomorrow. What are we going to do? So you know what I thought to do? I said, why not have some fun? What would you do if you had one day to live? I mean, we all say that tritely, but it's really interesting because you never know when that last day is coming. So what do you want to do? I've already decided. I've got my 5 dogs here. I'm happy as hell. I'm living in a place I love. I've got a nice little Coors beer here. I've only drank one. You'll know if I've drank more because I did a show like that. But, what I'm getting at is all the things we discuss here that are serious are really only a show for what we really are. And if we really understand who we are, we can really handle these tough issues that are out of our control. And I know that people that listen to my show have the same disease as me, thinking they know more than they do, and knowing what's going on is wrong and we can change the world. If only we could get rid of the Vatican-led New World Order. Now, we know that's true, but we can't do anything about it. So here we are. One day to go. I told you the show was about, how you're going to handle life and death. And so I said, what would I do on my last radio show? I got everything I want right here. My guitar, you hear it. I'll play an E note. That's what I'd want to hear before, if somebody said to me, what do you want on your deathbed? I'd say a bottle of white wine from Tuscany, my dogs, the beautiful woman, and the children that I have. And I'd also like a bottle of Coors Light. I like that. And I would want to hear the best one-liner jokes I've ever heard in my life that I've forgotten. So that's what we're going to do today. Oh, you thought you're coming here today and you're going to get this dose of, we've got to get the Vatican out. Yes, we do. But why don't we realize that maybe tomorrow will not be here for us? And so we haven't decided that we can do that. Get them out of here. We can't do it. So why don't we decide to do something like this? So I'm saying, here's some of the best one-line jokes I've ever heard. Now, some of them I haven't heard, but they're going to be funny anyway. And here they are. Do you know what I love most about baseball? The pine tar, the resin, the grass, the dirt, and that's just in the hot dogs. I had to do a baseball joke. I really did. I have a lot of growing up to do. I realized the other day when I was inside my fort that I built, I'm over 60. No one's laughing at that. I know you're going to laugh at this one. Love is like a fart. if you have to force it, it's probably going to turn out like shit. I love that. This one, something, if I was an Olympic athlete, I'd rather come in last than win the silver medal. You win the gold, you feel good. You win the bronze, you think, oh, at least I got something. But you win the silver, that's like, hey, congratulations, you almost won. Of all the losers, you came in first. You're the number one loser. No one lost ahead of you. You know something? My girlfriend once said, she absolutely is. My girlfriend, she's absolutely beautiful. She has a body like a Greek statue. Completely pale. I'm not even going to say the end. I don't. Completely pale. And, oh my God. Okay. If God had written the Bible, the first line should have been, what? I don't know. I bought myself some glasses. My observational comedy then improved. Trump's nothing like Hitler. There's no way he could write a book. Oh, I love this one. Hitler didn't write a book either. Hitler and Trump can't write books. Trump basically inherited a fortune, and Hitler had his book written by the Jesuits. You're a working class when your TV is bigger than your bookcase. I love that one. Most of my life is spent avoiding conflict. I hardly ever visit the Middle East or Syria. You got to get a little political joke in there. Okay, let's take a break for a minute from the one-line comedy. You can do about 20 of them, and then you start going, yep. Got the guitar in hand, and I'm having a ball doing that because I don't feel like I'm doing a radio show. It's funny. You grab your guitar and you feel, at least I did. I started when I was 10, grabbing the guitar. And only did it because I was the only child. My mother died, and I had nothing else to do. She wanted me originally to play the piano, which she played. I didn't like keys. They made me nervous. And then she said, well, why don't you play the accordion? I tried that. I took a number of lessons. I still can play a little. I hated that, going in and out with that damn thing, So she finally took me to a music store, and she said, what do you like? I said, strings. And so she wanted me to play the violin. I said, I'm not a sissy, so I got a guitar. But anyway, never learned to really play it well. It's the story of my life. Master of many things. A master of many things? No, Greg, you know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, enough of these one-liners. I'm going to get right back to them. But remember, this show is all about the Vatican-led New World Order and what we've been talking about for years, just from a little bit different angle, because now we're facing a real crisis. I mean, I really don't think America is going to survive, although it seems like things are going well. But if we look at the big picture, things are going to change, and I really, really am not like the spreader of doom. I'm just saying, why haven't people caught on to it? So, I decided to do a show that kind of got away from that and talked a little bit about the Vatican. I can't ever do a show that doesn't. And pretend that we're going to die tomorrow. We always hear it. We're the last generation. The world's coming to an end. Okay, so it is. You got one day. You got one radio show. You got one listening show. You only have an hour here. Then afterwards, you do what you want. I told you what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a song. I'm going to finish one beer. I'm going to say hello to all my dogs. And that's it. But during the show, we're going to continue with, the first time I met my wife, I knew she was a keeper. She was wearing, what? Oh my God. I can't say it. These one-line jokes can be dangerous. As a kid, I was made to walk the plank. We couldn't afford a dog. What the hell is that? I saw a documentary on how ships are kept together. Very riveting. Oh boy. You know something? I think I've run out of one-liners. Let me see if I could remember a good one. I'm learning the hokey pokey, the hokey cokey. Not all of it, but I've got the ins and outs. What the hell is that? These things just come back, the bad jokes I've told in my life. My mother told me once, you don't have to put anything in your mouth you don't want to. Then she made me eat broccoli, which felt like a double standard. Oh, that's terrible. I remember I tried that joke one time. Man, that was back about 25 years ago when I did my first comedy act. Oh, I'm going over my old notes. The easiest time to add insult to injury is when you're signing somebody's cast. All these don't make sense to me. I was in my car. These are notes. Many of these I never did as a comedian, but I was thinking of doing them. I was in my car driving back from work. A police officer pulled me over and knocked on my window. I said, 1 minute, I'm on the phone. Nowadays, that was before cell phones. Okay, it was funny then. You know, you had the phone in the car and everything. All right, I'm running out of these jokes. Who was, the best one-liner ever comedian? We go back to Jack Benny. You guys don't remember. Many of you youngsters don't remember him. Then we can go back to comedian I really like. I always laugh. Rodney Dangerfield. Funny guy. And I can kind of relate to Rodney, the no respect guy. I was sitting there today on my couch, laying there going, I've lost all self-respect for myself. I'm getting older. Somebody took a picture of me laying with my dogs, and I saw the top of my head, and I'm losing hair. I never look at it up there, and I'm going, oh my God, what is going on in life? My hair is gone. I can't get a job anymore. All I can do is talk. No one donates to the radio show because, you know what? Everybody that listened probably is dying. The old people that used to listen to my show. And now we got all these millenniums that could care less about the Vatican-led New World Order because they're all socialists. So I'm sitting here like I'm going, oh my God, I think that the show is getting old. What can I do to revive listenership? You think of those things. I mean, don't you? You're sitting there at your house, you're going, oh my God, I can't get a job anymore. What can I do to make myself more appealing? And you think, but you can't get anywhere. And so what happens is you wake up the next day and you go, wow, I'm still alive. But this show's all about you're not going to be there tomorrow. So what are we going to do? And we're running out of time here in the first half hour, so we got another half hour of the last days of our lives, right? That was a sitcom, wasn't it? Last Days of Our Lives? No, it was the Days of Our Lives. We're doing a sitcom now called The Last Days of Our Lives. You're listening to the Investigative Journal, and don't worry, everything is normal, just an experimental show. And I think we all need it sometimes. We never step out of our own little niche, is what they told me when I walked into a place and I said, what did I say? Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app, for all of your mobile devices. Streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, back for the second half hour, and aren't you happy to be back? Yes, I know you're happy. And I guess if somebody just listened to this show, I better ID myself. I'm Greg Anthony, Investigative Journal. Been doing this show for 15 years and talking mostly about how we can unravel the political situation, how we have to get to the bottom of it all, and how my 7 or 8 years living in the belly of the beast in Rome really have led my way to do this show, because without being there I wouldn't have had any clue. But it gets tedious because, 99.9% of Americans have no damn idea about the seriousness of what we talk about. And so I figured sometimes, I deserve a show for myself. And we were doing one called, when are you going to die? How many years do you think you have? Somebody emailed me during the break and said, well, are you dying, Greg? You sound, like maybe, you're something happened, you had a doctor report. No, I'm not dying. I'm going to live to be 105. But just in case I don't, and I don't wake up tomorrow, I thought I'd do this show and say, well, what would be the things that I'd like? Because, if you're sitting there and you got nothing, what do you want? What do you want out of life? And I'm telling you that I enjoyed mostly having a good laugh over it all. Because in the end, if you can't laugh at this stuff, then it has no meaning whatsoever. How many of you read the Bible and laughed about it? I always wondered about that. I've never met many people that read the Bible and laughed. Oh, they'll laugh after they've read it. And then I've been in Bible sessions, oh, well, that's funny. No, not much. It's a pretty serious adventure. Everybody laughs after they go get a few cocktails, or they're all, talking, having a little bit of, everybody brings food or something sometimes to these sessions. And I really wondered sometimes, if I'm going to my maker, I should be laughing about it, right? So I said to myself, if it was my last show, what would I do? Well, so I did all these stupid one-liners the first half hour, right? Now, they're stupid, and some of them are bad. I pulled out my own notes. Most of them I stole from other people, just like Jack Benny used to steal all his stuff, or Bob Hope. Bob Hope got a really good reputation of stealing other people's jokes, but it was his delivery that made him successful. So I figured when I was doing some comedy routines, because I enjoyed it, I said, if I can make people laugh, I'm going to laugh and be happy. So I go up there and do these 3 to 4 minute comedy gigs, and somebody told me, well, you got to get a joke every 25 seconds or people are just going to, put their nose in their beer and forget about you. So I figured, well, I'll do these one-liners. But then I knew that the one-liners were not good, because you just can't go one after the other unless you're Rodney Dangerfield, And so I decided that I'm going to find 3 to 4 line jokes. So this half hour, we're going to try that and see if that works. Because remember, we only have one day to live. And it's my radio show, and this is what I would do on my last show. So this morning, folks, on the way to the work, I wasn't really paying attention to anything, and I drove into the back of a car at some traffic light. The driver, he got out, and it turned out he was a dwarf. He said, I'm not happy about this. And I said, well, which one are you then? You know where that goes. Okay, so a woman, she gets on a bus with her baby. Okay? And the driver says, hey, that's the ugliest baby I've ever seen. The woman walks to the rear of the bus and sits down, fuming. She says to the man next to her, the driver just insulted me. The man says, well, you go up there and tell him off. Tell him to go to hell. Go on. And I'll hold your monkey for you. That driver's an asshole because a monkey's a beautiful little creature. I think so. All right. Man walks into a bar and orders a drink. You may ask, what drink? Well, let's have a beer. I'm going to take a sip. Then he notices there are pieces of meat nailed to the ceiling of the bar. So he asks the barman, what the hell is that? The barman replies, if you can jump up and pull one of those pieces of meat down, you get a free beer all night. That sounds like fun to me. I got to find that bar. If you fail, you have to pay the bar $100. Do you want to have a go? The man thinks about it for a minute before saying, nah, the stakes are too high. It's the first laugh I got all night. I went to the zoo the other day, folks, and there was only one dog in it. It was a Shih Tzu. Shih Tzu. I hate Russian dolls. They're so full of themselves. Man walks into a bar and says, give me a beer before the problem starts. He drinks the beer and then orders another, saying, give me a beer before the problem starts. The bartender looks confused as hell, then goes on for a while, and after the 5th beer, the bartender is totally fucking confused and asks the man, when are you going to pay for these beers? The man answers, now the problem starts. I guess the bartender wasn't listening. My grandpa started walking 5 miles a day when he was 60 years old. Now he's 97 years old, and we have no idea where the hell he is. Grandpa, come back. He's gone. He started walking 5 miles a day when he was 60. I'll figure out how far he is. That's what I was trying to do today, to find my grandfather. So I figured 5 miles, you have to figure out a day for 60 days. That's what, 37 years? Figure that one out and email me tomorrow at gregbeacon@gmail.com. I'll give you something to do so you don't have to think about the Vatican-led New World Order. You know, Bob left work one Friday evening. Bob did, yes. Do you know Bob? I know Bob. But it was payday. So instead of going home, he stayed out the entire weekend partying with his friends and spending his entire wages. Sounds like me when I was like 19, 20, 22. I remember one time when, we'll get back to Bob. I'd work all week and I'd go out the weekend, no money left. You know, then I said, well, you know, I'm young, I'll just work again. Okay, so Bob's, it's payday, he goes home, stays the entire weekend partying with his friends and spends his entire wages. When he finally comes home on a Sunday night, he was confronted by his angry wife and was attacked, barraged for nearly 2 hours with a tirade befitting his actions, you know. Finally, his wife stopped the nagging and said to him, "How would you like it if you didn't see me for 2 or 3 days?" He replied, "That would be fine with me." Monday went by and he didn't see his wife. I can't blame her, right? Tuesday and Wednesday came and went with the same results. But on Thursday, the swelling went down just enough where he could see her a little out of the corner of his left eye. I like that one. Now, in the world today, Bob is going to file an abusive lawsuit. You know, sexual abuse. My wife hit me. That's the world we live in. You know, I had a teacher once said to my class one day, "Hey, please stand up. Anyone who thinks they're stupid." All right, I remember that teacher. I walked into class and, you know, the teacher said, "Hey, please stand up, anyone who really thinks they're stupid." And of course, nobody stood up, so the teacher said, "I'm sure there are some stupid students in this class." At this point, I remember this little guy sat next to me, Johnny. He stands up. The teacher said, "Oh, Johnny, so you think you're stupid then?" Johnny replied, "No, I just felt that you were standing up on your own." Good for you, Johnny. You see how much fun you see, we get the jokes from one line to now we're into like stories. Now, I did this for a while. I used to tell stories this long, and then I got into this kind of George Carlin stuff where I said, you know, I'm better at really setting the stage and then just going and let's bring social issues into it and political stuff and all this kind of crazy stuff. But I'm just going through the most fun I had doing this kind of stuff in my life. And as I do it, I laugh. And so I figured the last day of my life, I might as well do this. Better than thinking about who the Jesuit general is, right? You know, once I had this doctor, and I'm sitting there and I've got a strawberry stuck on my bum. And you know what the doctor said? "I've got some cream for that." That's a bad one. A dog walked into a telegram office one day. I was there in that office. He took out a blank form and wrote on it. You believe that? He wrote, "Woof, woof, 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 woof." I don't know how many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 times. That's what he wrote, I remember. They handed it to the clerk. The clerk then, I remember, I'm sitting there in the station. The clerk had examined the paper and said to the dog, "You know there are only 9 words here. You could send another woof for the same price." Ah! Good clerk. The dog replied, "But that would make no sense at all." I love it. Maxer. Oh, I'm still remembering my old Maxie. My little doggies are listening. They're laughing. All right. Wow. That was, I hope the half hour's over. I don't think I could follow up on that. That's pretty terrible. But I'm having fun, you know. I said I couldn't follow up on that. And then I said, you know, if I had my last radio show, I'd hold my guitar in my hand and just sit there and go, my, it's been a long, long time. Hey, how you doing? I hope you're all doing fine. Hey, it's been 15 years on the show, and we've been friends. Oh, it's not gonna end, because the Vatican-led New World Order is coming for you. So we'll fight like hell, we'll win the war, we'll become the heroes too. Oh, yes, 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 and Judge Kavanaugh, he just got elected to the Supreme Court. Hey, well, I know now the world's screwed up, oh, but I've been here just a long, long time. Ain't it funny how time just slips away? Yeah, stupid rendition of Willie Nelson, but I felt good. Since it's my last show, just hypothetically here, I always wanted to do that, you know. Can you imagine how much fun we could have if we had more shows? So come back tomorrow if we don't die. You know? I mean, you never know. Look at what happened today or yesterday. Was it today or yesterday in New York with those 20 people being killed in a stretch limousine? Can you imagine that? What a way to go. I mean, you buy a stretch limousine. You think you're going to go and have a big party. They're probably all partying. The next thing you know, you're dead. God, what a world we live in, you know. We have 6 minutes here. No, we got, let's see, 10 minutes. So what I'm getting at here, folks, is we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And the things we learn today, will you need them tomorrow is what I'm getting at. And I think you just got to live each day like it's the last. Well, you know, folks, we only have 10 minutes to go on this last show. Of course, I'll be here tomorrow, but we're pretending it's going to be our last show. And you can only take so much humor, so many laughs. I've laughed myself to death tonight, really. Yes, that's what we're supposed to do tonight, right? Laugh yourself right to death. But over the years, I've had so many different radio shows, so many different people. Many confused about this situation we live in. And I always try to keep a level head and to basically say, you know, there's going to be a lot of shit that you hear on the internet, and there's going to be a lot of crap you hear on the news, but that's not the world that you live in. And the world that you live in is so different, and all you got to do is search for it. And so I started thinking about that, and I remember when I first started thinking that way, I was about 32 years old, living in Rome, and I was sitting somewhere having a nice glass of wine and just got done eating a good pasta. Oh, just a great meal. And I started thinking, you know, where are we going to be if we really don't get to this truth? You know, because I just learned about all this stuff about the Vatican, and I said, God, if this be so, and people don't grasp it, where are we going to be in the next 20 or 30 years? And at that time, in the 80s, no one was really thinking that way. You know, I can remember a few people I met in Rome. Some of the Italians I met said, oh my God in heaven, this Vatican is the craziest experience. But it was kind of not ever, kind of migrating. Those thoughts never got to the American people. And all the American people I ever saw in Rome were these tourists. I saw a lot of rich people, a lot of actors. I remember meeting a number of actors that would come through town. They were so, who would they give a damn? They're making millions of dollars, right? But nobody was ever really thinking in this law. I said, if this is true, if all of this satanic stuff in the Vatican and all this kind of connections are true, where the hell is the world going to be? And I really started to think about it seriously. And as a journalist, what I did in those years was all serious stuff. Man, I got to get this, I got to get this, I got to get this. Very few laughs. And I started thinking the last laughs are going to be them on us if we don't figure it out. And how are you going to figure it out unless somebody starts talking about it in simple terms? I went to all these lectures sometimes, people talking in all these big words, going through the, have you ever met these people that think they know history like the back of their hand? Even if it's Vatican history, and they go through this and they show you videos and all the stuff, it just goes in one ear and out the other. And I decided, I'm just going to tell it the way it is and do a show that always, stuck to this subject, because I always felt this is a subject that never would be touched on properly. And if it was touched on properly, it would be touched on like an academic story when it's not. This is a personal human story of death, tragedy, wars, crime that we can't even imagine. And if you don't talk about it in just the common terms of really what it is, if you dwell on too much, if you dwell on too much, what I'm calling, this historical idea that what happened 2,000 years ago, and no, we can go and piece it all together, but the real truth is what's going on today. And if you kind of can, it's kind of like looking through a camera, and the camera lens is looking at 2,000 years. And as the camera keeps moving, you're looking at it, it's very foggy 2,000 years ahead. And then as you get closer and closer to your lens, it becomes pretty clear. So the history is always going to be foggy. And what I'm getting at is you have to really talk about it in common terms of death, of war, of people deceiving you, and it's happening right today. And I know where it comes from. And unless you talk to people this way, all it's going to be is a struggle in academia. I love going to Bible study sometimes, but I really hate some of it. It's all this kind of, I know what Ruth was about, I know what this. No one really knows. It's the story you get out of it. And as you bring it together to your own life today, what are you getting out of it? Are you reading it? You're reading history so that you think you're going to know it all? No, that's not the right way, but many people do. Are you reading the Bible because you think it's going to be a gateway to heaven? No. But most people do. What I think is it's very simple. Live every day like it's your last. And what the hell? If I died today, how many people are going to say I go to heaven or hell? I'd love the judgment people. Oh, Greg, you're not saved. Oh, Greg, you're saved. What the hell is the difference right now? If you got one day to live, think about it. Think closely. Because that day will come when you have one day. You don't know when it's going to be. But we pretended in this show that we only have one, me, you, the listeners. And I presented exactly what I would do. Tell jokes, play my guitar, be with my dogs, drink a beer. Maybe have a bottle of wine right there. And is there anything wrong with that? And somebody will say, well, did you prepare for it? Hell no, I'm not preparing for it. How are you going to prepare for it when you don't know when it's coming? But today we did. And so as we think about that, and we wake up tomorrow and we're not dead, think about how lucky we really are to have one more day, one more chance at this crazy thing we call life. One more opportunity to say I love you to your friends. One more opportunity to look at the things you love in life, a sunset, play a guitar, have a beer, look at your dogs. Because that day will come when you won't have that chance. And let me tell you something. Anybody that says, well, there's something better out there, yeah, maybe. But there ain't nothing better than the present. And I don't care if you disagree or agree with me. And there ain't nothing better than accepting that as really the beauty of life. And the hell with what comes, right? Oh, somebody's going to say, why would you say that? I say it for one reason. Because I'm really not sure what happens when I take my last breath. Maybe you are. We'll talk about that another day, okay? Hope you had fun. And we'll all wake up tomorrow, back on the Investigative Journal. Tomorrow!
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.